3, 2, 1. What's up, mi gente? Let's get right into this week's topic. The reason I'm doing this video is, once again, shout out to Leslie Garcia, who commented and recommended this video, and I said, you know what, that's a good idea. Let me walk down memory lane. Let me think about the best dates I've had so far in my life. Worst ones were way much easier to remember than the best ones, which should be opposite. Number 5 is, this girl took me out to, and when I say took me out, she literally took me out and paid for everything. I thought it was a really nice gesture. She took me to this place called Barnes & Noble, which they sell books for coffee. She told me it was a Starbucks. I am a gold Starbucks member holder. I'm like, oh, cool, I got a reward. I'll pay for the coffees, don't worry about it. Get there, they're like, oh, we don't receive rewards. Better yet, we're not even a Starbucks. Okay, cool, whatever. Wasn't mad. I went to go pay. She still paid. Really nice girl. And for an hour and a half, I was walking this store. An hour and a half, let me repeat. Looking for books and drinking our coffee. I'm not the biggest fan of books. I don't like reading. I can listen, but reading, I'm just like, for me to sit down and read, no. And she was talking about, and here's the worst part of this date. We passed by an aisle and she'd be like, oh, I read this book. Oh, I read that book. Oh, I like this book because of the difference about JF Kennedy. And like, I felt like I didn't need to read the books because she was giving me all the information about them. And then from there, she took me to Panda Express, and that's how the date ended. Next one. This wasn't really, this really wasn't like a date. It was just a girl. Biggest pet peeve that I have is a girl who smokes cigarettes. I can't stand a girl who smokes cigarettes. After everything we would do, this girl would smoke and it would drive me crazy, and it lasted about like a month. The straw that broke the camel's back was she smoked and went to kiss me, and when she kissed me, my breath smelled like cigarettes. So when I went to talk, I smelled cigarettes, and I was like, this is it. I can't be doing this no more. Like, what am I doing with my life? The way I wrote it down. Number 3, almost got abused. Pizza, birth control, thrown at. I think that's pretty self-explanatory now that I read it out loud. I don't have to get into details about that date, but yeah, that was like one of the most uncomfortable dates that I've ever been, because she invited me over, which was already sketch, and this was like the first date. Okay, sure, like I might die today, but I get there. It was just a weird situation. Number 2, this is a funny story. A blind double date. Back in sophomore year, this was probably first out of 2 or 3 times in my life that I've ever been trying to set up on a blind date. The person who set me up was my really good friend named Chris. Now, he was talking to this one girl. I guess I could use their name. It was Amber. He came over to my house, and like we were getting ready. You know, my mom gave me some money. I think she even gave Chris some money. She was like, here guys, have a fun time. We walked all the way from Harlem and Addison, for people who are in Chicago, all the way down to like the AMC theater, which they had closed down for a while, but we went to the old AMC, which, smelled like piss, and it was just a disgusting theater. Now, I went recently and they did a nice job, but then all this stuff happened, and who knows if it's gonna exist, but whatever. We get there, he was like, yo, my friend, she got a friend, like, she's hot, like, he didn't even say she was hot, he was like, she got a friend, like, you're gonna like her, she's cool, like, and and I was like, who is this friend? And social media was around, but it wasn't like, he was like, no, you see, just come with me. Little did I know, I was stepping into a landfill of mines, right? Because I feel like every girl I saw that day was just a grenade. Being the wingman I was, we went to the theater, and let me expose them for a second. Before we got there, I was nervous. I had a legit reason to be nervous. I was nervous because I was meeting this girl who I didn't know, and let's see what happens. This guy knows the girl. He was already talking to the girl he was meeting, and before we get to the theater, this guy just throws up on the parking lot, and I was dying. I couldn't. I seen this kid put in a piece of gum and then kiss that girl 3 minutes later. We get to a movie theater, we get to the thing, we text him, hey, we're outside. His girl comes out. Then there's like this, person type that comes out. And I'm like waiting to see where's the friend. And then my friend's friend, the girl, introduces me to this girl. And I look and I'm like, no. It was just an overall bad experience. Then we went to Target and they started kicking it. It was weird because we were just there sitting like, This is a 16-year-old date in Rodrigo's life back then. That was so weird. And then number 1, I ended up going on a date with this girl, and we went to like 3 different places. And we had like dinner, then we went to go like play at this kind of like a GameWorks type of ordeal. And it started raining, whatever, we went back to her place. Next thing I know, I'm about to leave, and I'm like, oh, there's a prank being pulled on me. My car is no longer there. I told this person like, hey, where's my car? And then she was like, oh, I didn't realize the time. Like, I didn't give you a visitor's pass, so now your car is towed. And I was like, what? My car is towed? What are you talking about? Yeah, sorry, didn't give you a pass. But I can give you the number here, figure it out. Bro, my car's never been towed in my life. Any of my cars in the past have never been towed. To her credit, I did wake up the next morning. She did quick pay me, I think either all of it or half of it. And, you know, like that made up for it, but at that moment, that was the worst part of a date I've ever been. Like, literally leaving, about to get to my car to go home, and then come to find out my car has been towed. And that's the first time I tell this story publicly. So now you know. Those were the top worst dates. Now we're going to the top 5 best dates. Coming in number 5, my first date. And that was back in 7th grade. We went to this place that's on Harlem and Belmont. It's called Luke's. It's like this burger joint spot. They got pizza, you know, it's just, you know, fast food. And one of my aunts had visited us. And I remember back then she gave me like $20 bill. I was like, whoa. And she was like, hey, save this for whenever, you know, you go take your girl for some ice cream or, you know, some fries and Coke. I was like, okay. Literally put that dollar, I crimpled it up, I put it in my wallet. And 6 months later, come to find out, you know, I built up my nerves. I asked this one girl I thought, you know, that I liked in grammar school. And I was like, hey, like after school, since it's a half day, would you mind going and, you know, getting some food with me? She was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, all right, perfect. I had to kind of put this story in my top 5 because it's like, come on, it's like your first date. Like, I don't know if people remember theirs, but I remember mine because I had to get the freshest fit, you know, put the cleanest shoes, the nicest socks. And I remember that morning I had taken out that $20 bill and I like opened it. And when I was ironing my shirt, I ironed the $20 bill just so it'd be crispy. I put it in my pocket. I was like, all right. I walked her home after we ate, and then I got a kiss on the cheek, and I felt like the man of the world. You know, I was like walking back home. I might have even skipped home that day. I can't even tell you. But yeah, that was my first date. So jeez. 4th date. Hold on. A quick intermission. I got a text message asking, do I want Starbucks? God, how rude am I texting while I'm doing this? Going to the 4th best date. This was like one of the last times I visited Colombia. This girl took me on a date, but instead of making the list of the worst date, it was one of the best dates because it was like the first time that I was taken care of, because the girl was like a little bit older. I mean, I was like 17 and the girl was 19. And yeah, she had taken me out because everywhere I went was somewhere new, you know? So she was like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. And that date actually lasted like a span of a week. So like for 3 days, she took me out. And then the last date, you know, as a gentleman, I paid for everything, but it was cool, like exploring and getting to know things and, you know, eating, you know, delicious food, and like it was a great time. And yeah, I really couldn't pinpoint one of the dates. It was just more like a week long adventure. Number 3, this happened within the last 3 years. Ice skating. I don't know if the girl knows this, but this might have been like my 2nd or 3rd time ever in my life that I ice skated. And the good thing was she wasn't good at ice skating too, so it was like I kind of saved myself. And then we went to this place called 3 Forks, and it was like a 5-star restaurant, like steak restaurant. It was a great experience, and it was like the first time that I walked into a place, I was like, oh, like I don't belong here, but I'm here. Just a bunch of older people, like you could tell. And just sitting there and like that whole experience of late night, going ice skating, and then, you know, having like a 5-star meal. That was a great date. Number 2, a few years back, took me to this place in Chicago called Boys Town. Boys Town is a place where it's just for boys. And this girl took me there, and this was the first time I ever went there. You know, something different, let's go try it, why not? So we go there. She like knows all the ins and outs. And keep in mind, like, all these bars, like, because she's a girl, it's not like they're interested in her. So it's like, it's the opposite. I'm getting the look. Throughout the night, there was a point where she looked at me. She's like, oh, do you see all these guys looking at you? I was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, that's how girls feel every single day of their lives. I'm like, oh, okay. And she put that into perspective. We went to like 4 different bars, and then like we ended at this one place that was like underground, and it was like, as soon as you walk in, they had a shot. Obviously didn't take mine. I went like, yay, threw it out, because who gives you a free shot when you just pay $5 at the door? Nobody. So I didn't trust that. It was just a fun time, and then we ended the night at IHOP. It was like 4 a.m. Then my last and best date I have been on so far in my life, and involved steak dinner again. I was at this resort. The ocean was right next to us. It was a late night again. We had this great meal, and then we ended the night with a walk on the beach. We had the breeze. It was, let me tell you, it's dark as fuck. Couldn't see anything. We could have hit a shark and had no idea. It was a really, really cute, really awesome, really great date. Those have been my top best and top worst dates that I've been on. For anybody else who has any ideas or want me to share stories from my past and kind of, you know, relive it and make a video about it, it's what I'm here for. Open forum, baby. Damn. I've been listening to too much Spanish music if I ended a sentence with the word baby. And with all that being said, I will see you next video.